Now, to find out what's going on in the rest of the world, joining me is markets editor Jake Lee. Okay, so Jake, Asia markets really mixed today. Any impact of the storm on trade here in Asia?
Well, I think the simple truth is there just isn't that much trading. Most traders are just glued to the dramatic pictures out of New York that you're seeing. Trading volume dramatically down across almost every asset class. And without the sort of the cues that we usually get from the US overnight and even Europe, Asian traders are just sort of holding their fire and not putting big positions on. That means, like you say, Asian markets are mixed. We did see Japan fall at the end because of a Bank of Japan decision. Not as much stimulus as expected, so that's disappointment there for holders of Japan equities. But like you say, people were really just waiting for markets to reopen in the US, and that's not going to be for a while. We know that for a second day running now, US markets will be closed. That hasn't happened since 1888 because of a weather disaster. So dramatic times and just not much happening in Asia, I'm afraid.
Okay, but we did see the price of oil today fall. A direct impact from oil refinery closures on the East Coast?
Well, oil is a big focus actually for the traders, because we've seen those East Coast refiners close down because of this huge storm. So we've seen the oil price move around. It was just starting to move back up as they came on, so we're seeing it sort of around level now. But the gasoline futures and the oil and all those sort of products of huge interest. How will they how will the refiners, how will the stockpiling cope with this? But we're not seeing any major changes. The other focus, of course, is insurers. We saw one big Australian insurer dip. Apparently it has exposure to the US, and that could be taking a heavy hit because of this storm. But aside from that, we haven't seen that much action. We just need the US markets to open and to give us a bit more of a guidance on how much economic damage we've really seen from this storm.
And I was reading on this, and the market's obviously expected to be closed for 2 days, but a lot of people saying if they're actually closed more, that the market, that would probably have a bigger impact. That surprise of, when is the market going to open?
We'd really be starting not quite on charted territory, but 3 days would really be something we haven't planned for at the moment. 2 days I think people can get over, but 3 days we're really going to have to bring in some new contingencies. It looks like the storm's subsiding, but clearly a huge cleanup operation to start before anything gets underway. Wednesday closure could be a possibility, and I think that's when we might see markets starting to move on their own. People have given up waiting for the US to move, and traders will have to start making their own call. That's what we're hearing, but we'll still have to wait and see.
Still a lot, I think a lot to be determined by the size of this storm. Thanks very much, markets editor Jake Lee.